You've definitely seen the ads, right? Make easy money from your couch. But can you really get paid just for your opinion? Today, we're diving into the world of online surveys. It's a huge part of the gig economy, and we're going to separate what's real from what's just an outright scam.
But first, let's zoom out for just a second. When you take an online survey for cash, you're not an employee in the traditional sense. You're what's called a gig worker. That just means you're part of this massive, growing workforce of independent folks doing temporary, project-based jobs. It's a whole different way of earning money.
So, let's get right down to it. Can you actually turn your thoughts into real money? Or is this whole thing just a big waste of time? Okay, let's start with the biggest, wildest promise you've probably seen floating around online, the giant payout. We really need to cut through all that hype and look at what you can actually expect to make. Yeah, this is the magic number you see everywhere, isn't it? $350 for one survey. I mean, that sounds less like a side hustle and more like hitting a jackpot. So is there any truth to it at all? Well, the answer, and this is coming straight from one of the biggest survey sites out there, Swagbox, is a pretty hard no. They use the word disingenuous. But let's be real, in plain English, it's just clickbait. It's designed to get you in the door. And wow, the difference couldn't be more dramatic. While the ads are screaming hundreds of dollars, the reality for pretty much most surveys is, pocket change. We're talking between 25 cents and maybe $5. Sure, there are some super rare, highly specialized academic or medical studies that might pay more, but you're not going to find them through some flashy pop-up ad. So if the payout is so small, why do these companies even bother paying you in the first place? It kind of sounds sketchy, right? But the business model behind it is surprisingly legit. Let's actually follow the money trail. It's actually a pretty simple chain when you break it down. Big brands need to know what you think, so they pay market research firms. Those firms need people. Lots of people, to take their surveys, so they partner with survey sites. And those sites connect you, the user, to the surveys and then give you a little slice of the fee they get paid. You're the final and honestly the most essential piece of this giant market research puzzle. Now, when you start looking around, you'll basically find two main kinds of these platforms. On one hand, you've got survey-only sites like Survey Junkie. They do one thing and they try to do it well. On the other hand, you've got these multi-reward sites like Swagbucks, where taking surveys is just one of many ways to earn points. You can also get cash back for shopping or for playing mobile games. Okay, this brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole thing, your safety. Because let's face it, the internet is full of fakes and scams, and the survey world is no exception. So to help you out, we've put together a safety checklist based on guidance from experts, including the Better Business Bureau. And listen to this insight from the Better Business Bureau because it's so important. Scammers don't target your brain, they target your feelings. They use the excitement of a huge payday or the fear of missing out to get you to act fast without thinking. Just keep that in mind as we go through this checklist. All right, here's your toolkit for staying safe. First up, look at the advertised earnings. As we've seen, if it's promising hundreds of dollars, that's a huge red flag. Second, check for reviews on third-party sites like Trustpilot. And you know what? A perfect 5-star rating can actually be suspicious. A healthy mix of good and bad reviews is often way more realistic. Third, how old are those reviews? Legit sites have a history. Scams pop up and disappear overnight. Next, do they have a real online presence? Look for articles about them or an active social media page. And finally, and this is a big one, can you actually contact customer support? If there's no way to reach a real person, you should be very, very careful. And now for the absolute, non-negotiable #1 rule. A legitimate survey site will never ask you for super sensitive info like your driver's license number or your direct bank account details. No way. They use secure payment methods like PayPal or gift cards for a reason, to protect you. If a site demands that kind of info, it's a scam. Full stop. Close the tab immediately. Okay, so we've busted the myths, we followed the money, we've learned how to stay safe, which brings us to the final question. After all of that, is taking paid surveys actually worth your time? Let's talk real-world numbers here. Our sources suggest that a really dedicated user, we're talking someone spending a good few hours a day doing this, can realistically hope to make somewhere between $50 and maybe $200 a month. And to put that into perspective for you, if you work 10 hours a week just to make $50, your hourly wage is barely over $1. This is not going to pay the rent. And really, that's the ultimate takeaway here. This is coffee money. This is pay for my Netflix subscription money. It's a side hustle, plain and simple, and it is absolutely not a replacement for an actual job. So look, this isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. It's a really simple trade-off, your time for a little bit of cash. The question isn't whether paid surveys work, because they do for small amounts. The real question you have to ask yourself is that reward worth your time?